Welcome everybody. This is the weekly on EqualizerSoccer.com presented by North American Soccer Network. Today is Monday, May 16th. A lot to get to this week, obviously. Long, kind of negative week in women's soccer, unfortunately. But hopefully we can get to things on the field soon enough. But obviously the big story of the past week, Magic Jack deducted a point by WPS for failing to comply with league standards. Those include a multitude of things, really. Some of the ones that were highlighted, obviously failure to use the signboards properly on the side of the field, commercial activation as WPS calls it. Magic Jack working towards that, trying to hang the signs up on fences. Still not good enough for WPS, and they want more out of that. Failure to upload video to match analysis, which all the coaches use to scout. I understand if there's a hesitation to do that from the sense of, is it a waste of money? That's not the question. It's complying with the league, and it's also a matter of fairness. Every other team uploads it. It's an internal system used for coaches to scout other teams, because obviously not every game, or very few games, if you look at the percentage in WPS, are actually on television. So it's a way of scouting for coaches, and they've addressed it. I think a few teams have addressed it. A few coaches have said it's unfair not to have seen this team play and not know what's going on down there. So, that's another big one. A lot of things that go on down there that WPS is a bit unhappy with, and those have to get sorted out. If you've been following the drama, and if you're watching this, I imagine you have been, the bottom line is that it has to be handled in private. What's going on with owners, players commenting on social media, in comment sections of websites? League has to release a statement to respond. I think that they were forced to at that point. All of this public drama is just hurting WPS. It's a black eye on the league. Mainstream media, national media, who otherwise would not cover the league, picking up stories on this because they view it, a lot of people viewing it as a joke, really, and documenting what they probably think is the beginning of the end for the league. That's not what you want if you're WPS, and it's just, it needs to be handled in private. Understand that, the motives are there for a group of owners that obviously feel that they're working towards doing the right thing. Dan Borislaw, the motives are there. He feels that he can kind of revolutionize the business model in a way that WPS hasn't been able to yet. That's understandable, sure, but the way that things have played out in all aspects have just been really poor PR. It's made the league look bad, and it's unfortunate because it does reflect on the entire league. I understand that it's obviously, this came up in previous weeks. It is an isolated incident. It's not all teams going rogue here, but it reflects on the entire league. These teams are in it together, and if one thing's going on in a certain spot in Florida, then to the casual onlooker, that represents the whole league. So what needs to be done, really, things need to be handled in private. Doesn't look like they're going that way, but hopefully that will happen. Some strides being made in Florida, things improving. Still a long way to go, and hopefully this drama can kind of ease out a little bit. And even if, I expect it fully to continue for the entire season, really. But, maybe people can come to their senses, do it behind closed doors, because that's the way to go about it, really. But, a lot more below on that in writing. Some links to pieces that you should check out if you haven't already. On to actual gameplay, which is certainly something I would prefer to talk about personally. U.S. beating Japan 2-0 on Saturday. Looked pretty good for the U.S. Abby Wambach, Amy Rodriguez with goals about 8 minutes apart in the first half. Big news, I think the biggest news out of this, considering it was a friendly, Lindsay Tarpley with completely unfortunate luck. Really, really sad news for her. She tears the right ACL, which she recovered from. Really just fully recovered, not even a year ago was she back to full fitness. I would say, she wasn't retained into the national team until this fall. I would say that's probably when she really felt at that 100% mark. And she tears it. She came in as a second half sub, made it about a half hour, and then tore that right ACL. So really, really unfortunate news for her. She's going to have to be replaced with who? We don't know yet. Kelly O'Hara, probably the most natural fit for, most similar player out there to replace her. But O'Hara dealing with a little bit of an Achilles problem as well, so that might factor in. Yael Averbuch, maybe she gets the nod. We don't know, but the bottom line is really unfortunate news for Lindsay Tarpley. On to the actual game. U.S. looked pretty good. Abby Wambach, really creative as a playmaker, and we'll see that in a second on one of the highlights. But Wambach looked good. I thought most impressively actually was probably Becky Sauerbrunn, thrown into that central back role. Rampone out with injury. Heather Mitz out with injury. She'll be another one to monitor. She might be questionable for the actual tournament, so we'll see how that goes. But Becky Sauerbrunn stepping in that role, she was all over the field. I think most importantly, she was cool, calm, collective. She was very confident on the ball. She was very confident in her positioning, and I think that's very, very good sign for the U.S. Only one game, obviously. We'll see how that goes on Wednesday, but very impressed with Becky Sauerbrunn. U.S. did well to get wide, use the flanks also. I think Megan Rapinoe, Heather O'Reilly looked good on the flanks. You could see every time the U.S. had the ball, they were back, they were on the touchline, as far wide as they could be to receive that ball. Would have liked to see them actually stay in that game a little bit longer. I know that Pearson Hogg are trying to work in some other players, but I thought they did really well. Would have been nice to see that develop a little bit more. But problems for the U.S., probably, that central part of the field where Japan really found a way to push forward with numbers. I think the U.S. had problems handling the fact that, the Japanese defenders were completely willing to go forward. They didn't have the ability to finish in that final third, any of Japan's players, but Kinga in particular getting forward out of right back, really added a second dimension of attack for Japan. And if you're the U.S., I think that's a bit concerning that they were able to get so many chances, particularly from runners coming so deep. That's on the midfielders to pick up those runners, and that's going to have to be addressed on Wednesday when these two teams play again. But on to the positives again. Let's check out the highlights. Amy Rodriguez's goal. Abby Wambach on the assist here. We'll go to the highlights now. This play starts in the back. You can see Abby Wambach here with the dummy to Heather O'Reilly on the overlap. Really creative from Abby Wambach. She finds a way to get back around O'Reilly on the overlap. One-time ball into Amy Rodriguez. Finishes it off the inside of the post. Really well done from the U.S. from a creativity standpoint. The finish, from Amy Rodriguez, it goes in. It wasn't the most convincing, but really well done from O'Reilly and Wambach. And that dummy just showed some real creativity, and that put the U.S. up 2-0 at that point. So well done from Wambach in particular. And really, that's the creativity the U.S. is going to need going forward. Obviously, Abby Wambach always had that target role. The past year or so, particularly in WPS, she's developed that playmaker side. So, we'll see how that goes for the U.S. We'll see if any changes are made. And, I think in general, pretty positive performance for the U.S. I thought they looked pretty good. Certainly made some improvements in that creative side. I think that's one of the bigger concerns there with the U.S. has been just being creative going forward. Obviously, a lot of different things that have been picked on over the past few months, and I know that at times it's been a little bit too much scrutiny, I think, from on this U.S. squad. But I think the creativity going forward is real good there. Back on to WPS news. Western New York beats Boston 3-2 on Friday. Goals from Nicole Zerboni, she got 2, and Brittany Bach opened the scoring early. Well done from the Flash to get a result. Really thought Boston deserved a point. They actually dominated the second half. The Flash obviously missing a lot of international players. Pretty much their whole front line. Well, it was their whole front line, really. Good deal of, a couple of their backs, through the midfield, you name it. They were missing a lot of people, Western New York. So for them to get a result was pretty big for them. Boston, again, really deserved a point. Shaky goalkeeping from Melissa Nair on a couple of those goals. Ashlyn Harris, she had some struggles in net as well, giving up those 2 goals. One was a PK from Casey Moore. But, the first goal there, Brittany Bach, McCall Zerboni with the ball over the top, bounces in air, hesitates to come out. Bach out jumps her for the header, and then Zerboni gets on the board herself. We'll check that out right now. Great goal for Western New York, and Zerboni with just pure class finishing. Checking this out here, Kim Brando with a great ball over the top. Zerboni takes it with the outside of her left and chips Nair, who's kind of in the middle of nowhere. But what an incredible goal for Zerboni. Unbelievable chip there to give Western New York a 2-0 lead. And then from there, Boston gets one back, and then they're able to. Zerboni's actually responsible on the foul on Boston's PK late that Casey Moore finishes to make it 3-2. And Moore unlucky on a couple occasions actually to not finish. She had a goal, an almost goal I guess, in stoppage time there with a header that went just wide of the post. And then right before halftime, Boston's classic set piece where the corner, they pack the box, play the corner out to the top of the 18 where Moore kind of steps in and has a one-time shot. That went just wide as well. So Boston, again, really unlucky not to get at least a point out of this. Pretty high-scoring game, entertaining, despite a lot of players missing. Something like 15 players total, I think, missing on both teams. But, an entertaining one. Flash stay unbeaten. That's going to be key this Sunday. Magic Jack at Western New York. The return of Abby Wambach. Should be a pretty good day for attendance. I know a lot of people have been paying attention to that. About 4,500 pre-sold, I believe, for Western New York. So should be a good attendance up there for Wambach's homecoming. And then Boston as well, with Christine Lilly's jersey being retired. Should be pretty decent. But, Magic Jack still unbeaten, has the point deduction. Otherwise perfect record, I guess. With the point deduction, it's not quite perfect. But the Flash unbeaten as well. It's going to be a good game. It really is. I'll be up there for that. And you can watch that on Fox Soccer Channel. Should be a great one. Well done on the league and Fox Soccer to be highlighting that one early in the season, because it's going to be a game. Usually 3-4-3 formation for Magic Jack. I can't imagine they have the guts to play that against a 4-3-3, or at least that front line of, that three-player front line of Western New York with Marta, Sinclair, and Alex Morgan, assuming that they're all good to go after a long week of international play. Either way, to go 3-for-3 in the back, I don't think Magic Jack would be that crazy, but who knows? We never know. So we'll see about that. Other game this time around on Sunday, Philly beats Atlanta 2-1. Again on the attendance figure, 6,125 in Atlanta. Don't know what the draw was in particular for that day, but really well done from Atlanta. Highest attendance figure of the season across the league, and highest attendance figure in that building since it opened last year. So well done from them. Philly, they played 77 minutes with 10 players. Kia McNeil sent off for a really questionable foul. Don't think that it was worth maybe a foul. Don't think it was worth a red card. Really looked to be a bit of a dive from Megan Lenzik, if anything, and unfortunate for McNeil. Philadelphia responded well. Not immediately. Atlanta really dominated the entire next 20-25 minutes. Finally got a goal through Lori Kolubny in stoppage time in the first half. Pretty well-worked team goal. Megan Lenzik involved in that on the assist. And, she's taken out at halftime. Not sure why. I really thought that she should have stayed in that match. Christina Larson comes in to replace her. If anything, I would have liked to see Larson and Lenzik up top together, because I think that would have been probably the most threatening front line at that point for Atlanta. But Philadelphia comes in second half. Estelle Johnson comes in. Philadelphia goes 3 in the back after, in the first half, they had dropped Jen Boskowski in as a center back just to account for that red card. Paul Riley going for the win in the second half, goes to a 3-back. Estelle Johnson goes left back. Philadelphia earns a free kick, and Estelle Johnson, it's really Allie Lipscher's error, which she's been stellar all year. Pretty bad error on her part, though, to spill that ball. Estelle Johnson slips in behind Keely Dowling and Kat Whitehill, who didn't track, and it's a simple tap-in, and it's 1-1. And then 73rd minute, great team goal from Philadelphia. Tino DiMartino, Laura Del Rio, and then, just a bunch of players involved. Tasha Kai involved, Jonna Lohman, and finally Laura Del Rio gets on the end to finish it. If you look at the replay, anybody, if you got DVR, anything, check out the highlights. starts with a distribution from Val Henderson. 13 touches by Philadelphia players without Atlanta touching the ball, and it's straight from it's box to box. Val Henderson rolls it out, 13 touches. It's Leanne Robinson finds DiMartino. Del Rio links back up with DiMartino, who plays Kai, cross to Lohman, a touch, and just a simple tap in for Laura Del Rio. Really great team goal. 2-1. Showed some superiority in the midfield and defensively, really, for Philadelphia to actually dictate that game in the second half with only 10 players. So really good stuff from Philly. And again, you know, a pretty good weekend of play on the field. Obviously a lot going on off the field. You can check out a lot more below. Some international games that we didn't touch on here that you can check out some links to some match reports, and you know, just a whole lot of stuff that's happening this past week we have below. This is obviously the weekly on EqualizerSoccer.com, presented by North American Soccer Networks. Today is Monday, May 16th, and I am hoping for a less hectic week. I hope you are too. I'm sure you are. And hopefully we can focus on some really interesting matchups on the field next week. Until then, I'll see you next Monday. I'm Jeff Kassouf. Have a good day.